على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. So to continue with القواعد الأربع, then we have yet to take the introduction of the author rahimahullah. So we'll carry straight on and just get organized. So we'll take the first sentence where the author says, أسأل الله الكريم رب العرش العظيم أن يتولاك في الدنيا والآخرة. So where he says, أسأل الله الكريم, I ask Allah al-Karim. So here we can see أسأل is the fi'l and the fa'il. Allah al-Karim is the maf'ul bihi. And then رب العرش العظيم. So رب, it has a fatha. Why? Because it's also mansub. It's also maf'ul bihi. And al-arshi al-azimi is mudaf ilayh. So Rabb is mudaf, al-arshi al-azim mudaf ilayh. أن يتولاك في الدنيا والآخرة. So we can see في الدنيا doesn't end with a kasra. Why? Because as we studied previously, it's ism maqsoor, but al-akhirati ends with a kasra because of fi. So أسأل الله الكريم, where he says, I ask Allah al-Karim, the most generous, رب العرش العظيم, the Lord of the tremendous or magnificent throne, أن يتولاك في الدنيا والآخرة, that he protects you. So تولاك from the verb تولى يتولى, to protect and to preserve. And the kaf here, obviously it's للمخاطب. يتولاك أنت, if it's a woman, and يتولاك أنت في الدنيا والآخرة. So Sheikh Fawzan Hafidhullah, he says regarding this, he says, so this is a tremendous introduction, and he says in it contains du'a'un min al-shaykh. So he has a supplication from the Shaykh rahimahullah, from Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, لكل طالب علم يتعلم عقيدته يريد بذلك الحق. He says, for every student of knowledge who is learning his aqidah, his creed, or his beliefs, and he intends by way of that to obtain the truth. So this is a very great point he mentions, is the reason why we study, and the reason why we study Arabic is in order to understand the truth, and not to become famous, or not to show off, and not to use it in a way to promote yourself, or in a way to corrupt people by teaching them incorrect things. That we learn it purely for the sake of Allah, and we do it always willing and trying to seek the truth. And we're not those people. Ahl Sunnah are not the people who constantly have this, who have an arrogance about them, thinking that they know everything and everybody else is incorrect. No, you constantly study throughout your life, that you won't find a scholar who has ever learned the whole of the religion. That scholars, even when they reach ripe old age, that they're still learning new things. And this was common amongst the scholars. From what I remember, was Shaykh Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, when he was explaining one of the books on Aqidah of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, and he came across, and they were reading the text to him, and he stopped and he says, I don't understand this word. And he says he would have to go and research it, and he would have to go and research the word and learn it. Now, it's a very important point. So it's for every student of knowledge who he wants to learn his belief, and he does so wishing to know the truth. And he says, وَيُرِيدُ بِذَلِكَ تَجَنُّبَ الضَّلَالِ وَالشِّرْكِ. And he does so because he wishes to avoid al-dhalal, misguidance, and to avoid ash-shirku. And he says, فَإِنَّهُ حَرِيٌّ أَن يَتَوَلَّاهُ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. And he says, for then he is worthy that Allah should protect him in this life and in the next life. And as a side point, Shaykh Abdul Razak al-Badr, Hafidhullah, the great scholar of Medina, the son of Shaykh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, that he said this is a tremendous dua from the author, because shows us that he was compassionate and caring for the Muslims, and he wanted good for the Muslims, and he wanted them to learn the most important thing, which was Tawheed, and he wanted them to stay away from the most dangerous and severest of affairs, which is ashirk. So when he made dua by Allah al-Kareem, and he says, Rabb al-Arsh al-Azim. And he said, and he mentioned that he is the Lord of the tremendous Arsh, and meaning, so he said, this is a great supplication because Rabb al-Arsh al-Azim, the Arsh al-Azim is the greatest of Allah's creation. So swearing by Allah and the greatest of his creation makes it a tremendous dua. So he says, فَإِذَا تَوَلَّاهُ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ فَإِنَّهُ لَا سَبِيلَ إِلَى الْمَكَارِهِ أَن تَصِلَ إِلَيْهِ. So he says, so if Allah protects him في الدنيا والآخرة, in this life and the next, then there is no way for calamities to misguide him, or calamities to reach him and misguide him. وَلَا فِي دِينِهِ لَا فِي دِينِهِ وَلَا فِي دُنْيَا, not in his religion, وَلَا فِي دُنْيَاهُ, and not in his worldly life. And he says, قال تعالى, الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا أولياؤهم الطاغوت. So he says, he quotes the ayah from Surah Al-Baqarah, where Allah says, Allah is the wali, i.e. the protector and the guardian. Allahu waliyul ladina amanu, of those who believe. يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور. So yukhrij is what we were talking about in the previous lesson, fi'l ruba'i, which is a verb which consists of 4 letters. So for example, we've studied the verb kharaja. Kharaja, now, which means, so what does kharaja mean? Salam.
What page are we reading?
No, so this is the text, but I've got the small explanation in front of me.
Okay.
Now, so kharaja means to leave. You can mute your mic. So this verb consists of 3 letters. If we add the alif to it, so if we add an alif to it, and we say أخرج. So they're both past tense, but they both now have different meanings. So أخرج means to leave. أخرج means to make you leave or to take you out. So example, you say خرج الطالب من الفصل. The student left the classroom. And if we say أخرج المدرس الطالب من الفصل, the teacher kicked out the student from the lesson. That's what Allah says, Allahu waliyyu alladhina amanu yukhrijuhum, that He brings them out min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur, from the dhulumat, from the darkness to the light. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَوْلِيَاؤُهُمُ الطَّاغُوتُ, and He says, and those who disbelieve, then their allies and protectors are at-taghut, are the false deities. And Sheikh Fawzan also has a nice small book on at-taghut, which we will cover after this also. So he says, فَإِذَا تَوَلَّاكَ اللَّهُ أَخْرَجَكَ مِنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ. So if Allah wishes to protect you, then He takes you out of dhulumat. So obviously dhulumat is the plural of dhulmun. Dhulumat is darkness upon darkness upon darkness, dhulumat. And he says dhulumatu shirki wal kufri wal shukuki wal ilhad. So he says so he says, so that is the dhulumatu shirki wal kufri wal shukuk wal ilhad, which is the darkness of shirk, polytheism, wal kufr, and disbelief, wal shukuk, which is the plural of shak. Now we have shak, which is doubt, shakkun, and then the plural shukukun. Now, and he says ila nuril iman. So he brings you from that, from what we just mentioned, to the light of al-iman, of belief, wal ilm al-nafi', and beneficial knowledge, wal amal al-salih, and righteous actions. And then he quotes the ayah from Surah Muhammad, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ مَوْلَى الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَأَنَّ الْكَافِرِينَ لَا مَوْلَى لَهُمْ. That is because Allah is the Mawla, is the maintainer and protector, is the Lord, Master, Helper and Protector. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, of those who believe. And the disbelievers, that they have no Mawla, i.e. they have no Lord, Master, Helper or Protector. And then he says, فَإِذَا تَوَلَّاكَ اللَّهُ بِرِعَايَتِهِ وَبِتَوْفِيقِهِ وَهِدَايَتِهِ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ. And he says, so when Allah supports you with His supervision, success, and His guidance in the world and the hereafter, فَإِنَّكَ تَسْعَدُ سَعَادَةً لَا شَقَاءَ بَعْدَهَا أَبَدًا. He says, then you will achieve happiness after which there will be no misery at all. وَفِي الدُّنْيَا يَتَوَلَّاكَ بِالْهِدَايَةِ وَالتَّوْفِيقِ وَالسَّيْرِ عَلَى الْمَنْهَجِ السَّلِيمِ. And he said, and in the world He will support you with guidance and that you tread upon a sound methodology. Manhaj Salim. وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ يَتَوَلَّاكَ, and in the hereafter He will support and protect you, and He will enter you into His paradise, خَالِدًا مُخَلَّدًا فِيهَا, that you will remain in there forever. لا خوف, and there will be no fear. ولا مرض, no illness. لا شقاء, no unhappiness. No misery, no old age, ولا مكاره, no calamities or anything that you dislike. And he says, هذه ولاية الله لعبده المؤمن في الدنيا والآخرة. And this is the support of Allah for his believing servant in this life and in the next life. So all of that from this first line, أسأل الله الكريم رب العرش العظيم أن يتولاك في الدنيا والآخرة. So as we mentioned, we'll just take it line by line, lesson by lesson, and we'll stop there. فهل من سؤال? So next lesson, I will be asking people to quote to me the first line of the text. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أسأل الله الكريم رب العرش العظيم أن يتولاك في الدنيا والآخرة. So everyone needs to memorize just this sentence. أسأل الله الكريم رب العرش العظيم أن يتولاك في الدنيا والآخرة. So understand, memorize it, understand the text in Arabic. So that's why we're learning Arabic. And if you can revise the explanation of the Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala. If any questions upon what we've just covered. The explanation is by Sheikh Salih Al-Fawzan Hafidhullah. I think it's translated anyway. How to screenshot on Mac. Use Google, you find out. I know it, but I forgot. I'm sure you're asking somebody else anyway. You don't need to screenshot the text anyway, because it's available on the Telegram group in the downloads, pinned messages. طيب سنقف هنا. جزاكم الله خيرا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.